know? Okay, all right. Take a look.
Okay.
You
Hi,
understand over
everyone.
there? Well, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
I forgot to put them.
actually, no, the projector is very bright.
Okay.
Okay, so, hi, everyone, virtually and in person. I'm Joe. I'm a peer academic coach. This is my second semester as a peer academic coach. I am a junior electrical engineering major, and I work for the advising bar with the Center for Student Success. And today's workshop is tips for a successful semester. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of reading your syllabus, setting goals and objectives for yourself throughout the semester, managing your time, discovering your resources, and studying. So it's the third week of the semester. If you haven't read your syllabus already, you should read your syllabus, whether you have it a paper copy or digitally. It is the single most important piece of paper that your professor will give you because it tells you everything that you need to know for the course. And we're going to go through a syllabus. So this is an example. It is from one of my professors. I blocked out the name, but you'll have a general idea of what your syllabus will look like in comparison to this one. So it'll tell you the class you're taking, the amount of units that the class is worth, your professor's name, meeting times. It'll tell you a description of the course, how to find your professor. So if you look here, it'll tell you the office, the phone number, and the email. That's 3 different ways that you can contact your professor if you ever need help, questions, or just for clarification. Every professor here is required to have office hours. Later on, we'll talk about the importance of office hours and how beneficial they are. This professor specifies 2.5 hours, and then also if you need an accommodation that you can't meet in those office hours, you can also contact them to have an appointment, which is great. Not every professor does it, but if they do, it comes in handy. It'll tell you the textbook required for the class, any prerequisites. The grading policy differs by professor. A professor is allowed to grade how they would like to grade, just within certain percentages. Homework, if you have different assignments, quizzes, exams, or any other miscellaneous assignments, you can get a breakdown of how much each assignment that you do is worth, so that you can keep track of your assignment progress and your grade for the class throughout the semester. It'll also tell you if they're a good syllabus, it'll tell you tips for passing the class. So the specific professor said that if you read the textbook ahead of time before the class, you can partake in conversation. And some professors want you to do that, others want you to wait so that they can have a genuine reaction in class, but sometimes your professor actually wants you to succeed. So they'll tell you skills, tips, or other things that you can do in order to succeed in their class. And then my favorite part of the syllabus is the actual full semester breakdown. So it'll tell you when assignments are due, what to read ahead of time, the pace that you need to follow, when you have quizzes, exams, when your final is your midterm. Most things are on the syllabus. And that's why sometimes professors get upset when students are like, what, we have a quiz? Yes, it was on the syllabus. So definitely read your syllabus. If you haven't already, read it. We're in the 3rd week, so quizzes and tests are coming soon if you do have them. Papers already, professors are already assigning papers that are due within the next month. So it'd be great to have an idea of everything that you have to do so that you can pace yourself throughout the semester. Any questions? Okay, so next we will be talking about setting goals and objectives. So the first thing that you need to decide and determine is, what do you want to accomplish? Whether it's A, B's, or C's, have an idea of what it is that you want to do for the class, what grade you want to get, and then whether you're capable of getting that grade. Yes, everyone wants to get A's, but it's knowing your academic history and knowing how much you struggle or how easy a certain subject is, so that then you can set goals that are actually attainable and that will motivate you to keep going throughout the semester. Speaking from personal experience, sometimes if I set goals too high for myself and I see that I'm not meeting my sub goals, I get discouraged. So we'll talk a little bit more about setting SMART goals. SMART has two meanings in this case: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So a specific goal is not ambiguous and it is not open-ended. You want to set a specific goal that will tell you exactly what you want from it. So instead of saying, I want to pass CRIM 200, you would say, I want to get a B in CRIM 200. Both of those, yes, are passing, but one is more specific than the other, and therefore you have a better target to shoot, a better target to actually have an idea of where it is that you need to end up. And to get to that, then you need to make it measurable. Is it something that I can tell whether I met my goal or not? And in this case, it would be the grade. Having the grade at the end of the semester that you got a B is how you know that you met your goal. But then it also has to be attainable, like we talked before, using your strengths and your weaknesses. Are you truly capable of getting that B in the class? Or is it something that you know that even if you work your absolute hardest, is going to be very hard to get? So in this case, for example, instead of saying, okay, I want to get 100% in CRIM 200, props if you can, but if you can't, it's okay to say, I want to get a B, B plus, A minus in CRIM 200. And then ask yourself, why is it that you want to get that grade? Whether it is to pass the course, just to pass the course, to improve your GPA because it's a major requirement. If it's relevant to your long-term goals, then set the goal. If it's not, then ask yourself, okay, why am I taking this class? Why am I shooting to get this specific grade? Whether it's you want to graduate cum laude, or if you want to have a high enough GPA to switch your major, then you can have a better idea of how to create your goal. And then lastly is having it time-based. One of the biggest challenges in people keeping to their goals and meeting their goals is that they don't set a schedule or set a specific timeline to meet all of the achievements that they need to do in order to actually achieve their goal. So whether it's, if I want to pass this class, okay, I need to submit each assignment by the deadline and then have all of the deadlines somewhere so that you can refer to them, or it's, I want to make sure that I study at least 4 hours a week for this class and schedule those 4 hours, not just say that you're going to study 4 hours. So we are going to talk more about how to manage your time. And that is something that many people struggle with. It's okay to struggle with time management. We're college students and workers out of college. And managing our time is difficult because our plates are very full, and it's understandable. And there are many different tools and tricks, and you probably had time management workshops in the past and people telling you this is what you can do to manage your time. Today, we're going to talk through a few. And if none of them work for you, understandable. If you already have something that works for you, well then learn something new. So one way that you can manage your time to make sure that you meet your goals is by knowing everything that you have to submit, knowing all that you have to do, when you have to do it by, and whether you need more time to work on it in order to submit it on time. So if we look here on this calendar, excuse me, one way to manage your time is to set your calendar every month to have all the assignments that are due, papers that are due, when you have exams, so that you can look ahead of time to make sure that you have ample time to complete them, submit them, and prepare for them. Sometimes this can be very overwhelming and it doesn't work for everyone because they might get anxious when they see everything that they have to do. So you can break it down, and instead of having a monthly calendar, you can do weekly and set your assignments that are due for the week. And one suggestion is somewhere, whether it's in an Excel sheet or a Google document, have a place where you can keep track of every assignment that you have to complete, whether it's a paper, a quiz, a discussion post, go crossing it off. It is so satisfying to cross off an assignment after you stress about it for a week, 2 weeks, however long. And then track what grade you got in it. And then you can keep track of what goal you're meeting and whether you need to do something else or you need to really kick it into high gear and study hard for the next quiz or exam. And that way you're never caught off guard if a professor doesn't use Canvas, or if a professor waits 3 weeks to put in grades, or if you have missed an assignment and you can show your professor, no, look, I submitted it. I have it here on my list. This is the assignment, because things happen. So it's also a good safety net to make sure that you are accountable for yourself and for meeting your goals.
You had some people agreeing with you and then, not in the chat, but they had their
Oh, okay.
clapping hands, so.
Thank you, thank you. And if this doesn't work for you, well, then there's also mixing both things, both the weekly and the monthly. So I personally like to schedule almost every moment of my day. And by that, I mean I schedule in time to complete my homework, to study, when I have self-care day, because mental health is important and you can't just work all the time, because then you're gonna burn out. And by having this, when I don't stick to it, I'm accountable and I say, okay, now I have to reschedule this time to complete this assignment. And you can have this on paper, you can have it in your phone notes section, a Google Calendar, you can even have it on a napkin. Whatever works for you, it works for you. But accountability is the key to time management. It's not letting yourself say, okay, I missed it, because then what if you forget that you missed it and then you end up not completing the assignment? So always keep track of what you have to do, when you have to do it by, and how much time you need in order to complete it. Any questions, comments before we move on? In the audience?
So far, so good.
All right, so now we're going to talk about discovering your resources. And most people hear this and think, all right, office hours, textbook, tutoring, which is on this slide, but there's more than just these, but we will talk about them for now. So office hours, professors are required to have office hours. If you didn't know that, you know now. And office hours are outside of class time that professors dedicate to receive questions from students. And most of them complain that they don't get enough questions from students, and then they don't understand whether class is doing poorly and no one's coming to them. They are designed for you to ask as many questions as you need, you to be as annoying as you want to be so that you can succeed. Show up prepared, that's number one. And two, expect them to be a bit different than they are in class, because when you're working one-on-one with a student, it's very different from you having to speak to an entire 20, 30 student classroom. A lot of the times it is better because they can answer your questions directly and instantly, and then they can see your effort, they can see how hard you're trying, and they'll have a better understanding of who you are as a student and whether that B was very hard earned or if that B was you just skating by. And it can be a making or breaking decision, and whether you pass the class, pass an exam, or whether they want to be a reference in the future for any internship or scholarship, and it'll help build a relationship with a professor down the road that a lot of times is a very beneficial thing. Next is tutoring. So at TCNJ, we're lucky, we have a tutoring center. I think it's still virtual tutoring.
No, tutoring is in person and virtual, depending on the tutor.
In person or virtual.
Sign up starts today.
And
Started today.
sign up start today. So you can go to my WC online and look for a tutor in whatever subject that you need help in, and you will be paired with a student, or you can select the student actually, who has either taken the class and passed the class, or has literally taken your exact professor and can help you pass the class. And the same thing that I said with office hours is the showing up prepared. You can't waste their time when they're trying to help you. And if you don't show up prepared, then you're wasting your own time as well. That's with the specific assignment, showing up with the specific assignment, questions, or any specific thing that you need to review. And those are 2 resources. And the third one, a lot of students ignore, but it is actually pretty helpful, and that's the textbook. Yes, textbooks are very expensive, but a lot of professors rely very heavily on the textbook. And if you read a couple pages, you might realize, oh wait, the textbook actually describes the things that they're not doing a very good job describing. And that's because it's the textbook that they're using. So if you read the textbook or listen to it, if it's a digital textbook, it will tell you the information in the gaps. So whether that's you zoned out in class, or they might skip an assignment, skip a chapter or 2, and you have no idea how you jumped from A to B, it might fill in those holes. So if you can make the time, read your chapters, and make sure that you are following the pace of the class. These are the 3 that a lot of people don't consider as resources. YouTube and Khan Academy. We're not learning anything new. We are not discovering anything new for the most part. People have already studied, learned, mastered everything that you are learning currently. There are literally hundreds, thousands of videos out there explaining what you're learning in different ways. Find one that works for you. If your professor's teaching style doesn't work, you might find someone with the teaching style that does work for you. Just look up the topic, the specific, or maybe even a specific question that you have, and you're bound to find a video that might help you. And if that doesn't work, then there's Chegg. Now, Chegg is frowned upon for many reasons because most people abuse it, but it's actually a very good resource when you're stuck. If you have a problem, or if you have a specific question and your professor's not answering, all the tutorings are booked, your classmates aren't responding, you can look, you can verify your answers, you can find the process that you need to come to a conclusion, and they actually have tutors, and you can receive tutoring there too. Or post questions and have a tutor respond to your question, assisting you. And if you use it to your advantage, it's a pretty neat tool. And like I said before, if your classmates aren't responding, and by that I mean your classmates are probably your best resource because they are struggling right with you. They're going through exactly what you're going through. So if you don't have a class group chat already, make one. I'm an engineering student, and they have kept me going for the last 3 years. Working together should be idealized because you're all struggling, you're all in it together, you're all learning at the same time, so you have very valuable information to share with each other. You might realize that something that you didn't understand, someone else did, and something you did understand, someone else didn't, and you can work together towards passing your class and realizing that if you have misinformation, that it was wrong, and you can benefit greatly from having class group chats or class group study sessions. And a way that you can make them is there's GroupMe and there's Discord and all other apps that people are using. You might realize that if at the start of the class you ask your professor, hi, I made a class group chat, can we take 2 minutes for people to join? They might say yes and agree to it. Or if you print out a QR code and be like, hey, can I post this on the board for people to join? They might even say yes to that too. So definitely your peers are a valuable resource. Lastly, we will be talking about studying. I know, dreaded studying, but one thing we need to really talk about is that completing your homework is not studying. The homework could take you 5 hours. That's still not studying. At TCNJ has recommended that for every 1 hour you're in a classroom, you should be studying 4 hours for that. That sounds like a lot, but if you think about how densely packed our classes are, 4 hours should be a small amount of time for the amount of information that we go through in 4 hours. So studying can include reviewing your notes. If you take them, please take them. reviewing the chapters ahead of time, after, annotating if you can, whether it's in the book directly, on a Google Doc or on paper. When you read something, it's not all going to stick. So annotations are very important because they are written in your own words. So you don't have to reanalyze the text every time you have to go back and refer to. You can read what you wrote down and understand your words easier. Another few ways of studying is by redoing homework problems. Keep redoing, not doing homework problems, but redoing them, changing numbers or changing the questions a little bit so that you have new material that you can use as practice. Practice makes improvement. I don't like practice makes perfect because it makes improvement in reality. And improvement is what you need in order to succeed. And you can also solve practice problems, take practice tests, and like I said before, studying with classmates. Practice tests and practice problems. You can ask your professor, and if they provide it, cool. But I think they still do at the library. They provide practice tests if you ask for them, if they have them in file.
It depends on the professor
But
too.
it also
Yeah.
depends on the professor and the year, because they might change their test taking style and they might have completely different method of examination. So always ask your professor and clarify and verify that that is the style in which they're asking questions so that you can prepare accordingly. And back to studying. Everyone has their studying preference. There are a million ways to study and there's a million ways to take notes. The three major ones that I see on campus are laptop notes, which I understand for like the arts and writing and reading, I understand, but if you are more math heavy, science heavy, I don't think laptop notes would be the best just because there's a lot of math involved. But when you have to handwrite notes, paper is not the only option. There's also note tablets, which I like because I get to handwrite my notes, but they're also organized on a cloud in which I don't have to carry around 20 pounds of notebooks every single time I go to class. And they're also easier to sift through, and you get the organization of laptop notes without the heaviness of paper notes. So you can test and play around with different note-taking styles, see what works best for you. We have another workshop called Learning Styles, in which you can identify the best way that you learn and the best way that you can retain information in order to do better and to really define your strengths and your weaknesses and what's causing them.
So if you're looking for the learning styles, please go to css.tcnj.edu and select resources, and you should be able to find that that workshop online.
Yes. Are there any questions?
If you have questions, you can come off mute or put them in the chat.
Mhm.
Any comments so far? Nope, everybody's good.
Okay. So general tips. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's one that I will always emphasize all the time. Chances are when you think it's a stupid question, 3 other people in the room have the same question. And that is because we are very insecure about looking dumb in front of people. It's a normal thing, but you're paying for your college. You're here to learn. If you don't understand something, ask. The professor will likely answer your question and someone else will benefit because they might have had the same question, but they're too scared to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's another one. That one took me about 1.5 years to figure out for myself. It's okay to ask for help because this is the first time you're learning these things. You're not expected to be a master from the beginning, and you don't need to be. You are here to learn, and you will likely need help to learn. Otherwise, you'd be educating yourself. And that's very difficult, which is why you need to ask for help. 3 is taking mental health days. If you feel like you're crashing, like you're on the verge of a breakdown, like you genuinely don't feel like yourself, maybe take a step back, and relax for a moment and see what it is that is a stressor, what it is that you need to do in order to start feeling like yourself again. There are many resources on campus, but also taking routine mental health days can prevent those really long periods of being down from occurring, and they can get in the way of your academics, of your extracurriculars, or any other part of your life. It is not easy to be a college student. It's not easy to have the workload that we have regularly. So please be mindful and take breaks. Give yourself some slack. Yes, we talked about time management and getting things in on time, but it's okay if you are behind a day. It's okay if you miss an assignment. Just communicate it. Let your professors know, let your boss know, let your advisors know, let your group members know if it's a group project, because we're human. We make mistakes. We have our days. Take a break and then pick it back up. If you need to, withdraw or drop the class. If you absolutely need to. Later in the slides, I have the withdrawal date. The add drop period already finished, unfortunately, but the withdrawal period is still going. If you are halfway through the semester and you're like, there's no way I can pick this grade back up, there's absolutely nothing I can do, it is just not going to happen, you can withdraw from the class and try again next time. That is to avoid having an F on your transcript, and that is to avoid dropping your GPA. You could potentially lose scholarships. You can significantly affect your chances if you're trying to apply for any internships or anything before you retake the class. And lastly, visit the advising bar. We are located at Roscoe West, and we provide supplemental advising and academic coaching. We're students, just like you. We have 2 juniors and a sophomore, and we have experience with most of the things that you come to ask us for help in. And if we don't, then we also have our wonderful boss, Ms. Thorpe, and everyone else in the CSS department to refer you to for help navigating PAWS. PAWS can be very confusing and tricky, making your next semester schedule. If you need help deciding on your major, if you're still undecided, making what if reports, anything that you might not be able to reach your personal academic advisor for or any other club advisor for, come down and we'll help if we can. Important dates. Last day to request change of major is coming up in about 2 weeks. It's March 4th. Last day to
The 4th is mainly the specific, most majors are the 4th. However, there are some dates that change. So psychology is a week earlier. So make sure you, as a student, take initiative to find out when that department deadline is. However, that is the general date for the change of major for most departments.
And the process varies also depending on major. Some require many different things, others don't have as many requirements, but definitely go to your department head and make sure that you have everything that you need to have on time in order to make sure that your application is received and is considered. And the last day to withdraw from Q1 course with a W, which is a withdraw, is February 21st. A Q1 course is not January to May. It's half of the semester, which is why it's called Q1. And those are the ones that end like in the middle of April. You have until now, 2 weeks from now, to withdraw. And March 28th is a loaded day, so it's the last day to request ungraded option. Ungraded option does not apply to all classes. There are very specific guidelines to which classes qualify for the ungraded option. They're usually non-major, non-required classes that you can request an ungraded, and ungraded option is when it doesn't affect your GPA. It'll just be a pass or fail technically. And it is also the last day to withdraw from a full semester course with a W. Write that down. If in a month and a half from now, you realize this class, I'm just not gonna make it, consider withdrawing. And another withdrawal date for the classes that start in the middle of April to May, the last day is to withdraw is April 15th.
Let me break down the ungraded option for you. So the ungraded, meaning ungraded is not eligible for any of your core courses. However, it is eligible for your required liberal learnings. Those are courses that you explore, that you choose. However, if you are a business major and you want to get an ungraded option for accounting 201, that is not possible. If you are engineering major taking accounting 201 or 202, that is an option. So make sure you're very careful with the core courses. They are not ungraded option eligible. Okay, so remember that. If you have any questions about that, always ask your professor or your academic advisor just to confirm, because I don't want you to get your hopes up if you are failing a course or you're at the minimum of a C or D. Make sure you talk to your academic advisor and your professor whether or not to withdraw from the course.
And as she mentioned, as a class minimum grade, that can also be found on your syllabus. It'll tell you what grade is passing. Not every class has passing as a D. Some classes you require a C, sometimes even a B- to pass the course. It depends on the major and the requirement that you need to proceed to a higher level course.
Questions about that? Sure. Okay.
Okay, so thank you. That's all I have for you today. If you didn't already, please register with the QR code on the screen.
That's the sign in to get credit for here. So if you are here for a requirement, we'll make sure we send it to those departments that need it.
And here on the map, this is Roscoe West Hall. That's how where the advising bar and the Center for Student Success is located. It's right behind the library, at the lion at the front. Please come down if you have any questions.
Follow us on Instagram for future challenges to win water bottles or whatever we may have in our office.
Yes, and
Shameless plug.
for updates on future workshops, because we have a couple throughout the semester. And we'll post any questions, any updates on the Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Get some feedback here. You're doing great. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Thank you.
Make sure. Thank you. That's so you can